Good evening and welcome to our third live edition of Horses for Courses. We're going to be looking at the Ascot card on Friday. I have with me tonight, I have William Kijani William, I've actually forgot, JP Festival. How are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm recovered from sickness and done with my uni hand-in. So, yes, I'm feeling fine this evening. I'm very excited for tomorrow at Ascot.
It's a top card, and I've also got Andrew Humphrey from Betfred.
Good evening. Nice to be back again.
Andrew, you were here last week, so we'll start with you first. The 12:45 at Ascot. It's a winning post bookmakers Bristol National Hunt Maiden Hurdle. Is there anything that you like in here? There seems to be some nice types. All the top trainers having first runs with newcomers to the yard.
Yeah. Like it's. I think it's quite a pretty race, to be honest. There's plenty of money flowing around in it, that's for sure. My one that I particularly liked the most was Top of the Game, actually. Sold to Paul Nichols. I think it was Aintree sales for £220,000 last year. So, you know, the owners are well known. You know, the old Sauvignac Conti colours, the Giles colours. Got a bit of form in there as well. He beat No Hasselhoff. I think that was in the point to point. I think he beat No Hasselhoff, and obviously he's come out and done quite well recently. Crick Rock. I'm not too sure about Crick Rock, to be honest. I know he's got course form, and that means quite a lot. I know he's second to Charlemagne's, who I think is quite a good horse. Actually, I had a decent bet on him when he beat JP's one last time. What's it called? He just bought it from France. What's it called? Minotaur, was it? Minotaur?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. I think he beat Minotaur quite well. Like I said, I'm just not overly sure about him. Kingy's in decent form so far through December. He's, Alan Keene's got that many horses. It's probably difficult to be out of form for him, really. The bigger prices, Love No Money, perhaps would be the better of the two. I don't like Tales of the Tweed. I don't think there's much of him, really, to be honest. And Love No Money, the Grey Treks. Grey Treks is needy, no introduction, especially with Gav Sheehan on, so I'd expect him to be prominent. But Top of the Game for me, I think, just based on the fact that connections, Paul Nichols, and he's beaten No Hasselhoff, who's gone on and done decent stuff for the Skeletons recently.
William, I'll bring you in here. What do you like in this race?
I'm really interested by Alpha Male, top for the Buckleys, Nicky Henderson and David Mullins, who's also got some other rides for Nicky Henderson this weekend. He was well beaten as a 92 favourite back in October, but they went over hurdles with him anyway. And he was interesting in that newbie race. It was about a couple of weeks ago, 21 days ago. He was way out of his ground in the back, and he didn't jump particularly well, but I noticed he made a lot of ground. He was beaten 16 lengths into third, but he was really, really eye-catching there, and he did have a few decent times behind. I'm not sure how much he's come on. He'll need to have come on plenty, but he looks big at 12-1, and I think he's a bit better maybe than the yard might think he is.
Yeah, Peter, I tend to agree with you there. Tales of Tweed kind of caught my eye, but the one I'm looking at is Bust Your Bubble. As an outside price, he's 12-1. Now he's been behind Thomas Campbell, who's going to run later in the card. He's been with being by Move with at times, which for him has worked out well. I caught my eye just on entry because they seem to be trying him out quite well. I rate 119. It's probably not good enough to win this race. Top of the Game is probably the winner of this. No Hasselhoff has came out and he's ran very well. I think he put a string of a couple of wins together, and he's owned by the Whaley Collins now. I looked at the the point-to-point one at Belclare. I thought he was very impressive. He actually quickened clear no Hasselhoff that day over the 3 miles, which maybe have suited them. This is over 2 mile 5. It's not very out of the ordinary. But what I do notice is Western Cape won this race last year for a certain J.W. Mullen, who trains Burst Your Bubble at 33 to 1. So he won this race last year for with a different horse. I would definitely be having an each way on that. You know how it works. Trainers have these types of horses where they win a race and then they target that race constant.
Creatures of habit, trainers. Creatures of habit.
Yeah. It was 33 to 1 last year when it won Western Cape for Livingstone. He's now got Burst Your Bubble in here. So it must, if he won at 33 to 1 last year, he must be thinking it's worth a run. Each way money. For me, if you're going to get the 8 runners, there's 9 at the moment, and I would take top of the game. After that, I'll move on to the 1320 in the Stella Artois Novices Limited Handicap Chase. This is a very interesting one. I'll start with you, William.
It was interesting to me too. I didn't find really an obvious angle in. I was impressed with the way back by Midnight One, and an £8 rise is fair, seeing as he won by 9 lengths. I think you'd find it hard to prevent a follow-up based on that. But these are not an overly exposed bunch, and I wouldn't be surprised to see even Champagne at Tara run a really big race. He was rated 133 over hurdles, but it was a good second at Aintree in the Grand National meeting. John Joe O'Neill seemed to lurch from wins to nowhere, so it's difficult to know exactly where he'll be, but I felt he was interesting, but I'm non-committal with this. This is an interesting race.
Andrew, how do you feel this race is going to pan out? Do you see a pace angle anywhere, or is it going to be somebody try to steal it for the front or come for the back?
I agree with KJ. This is a tough one. This is a tough one to get your head around, really. I agree with Champagne at Tara. I think John Joe's doing a bit of a hokey cokey at the minute. He has a couple of winners and he has a couple out, and he has a couple in and he has a couple out, and he's too shrewd of a guy to have 2 horses in a race and not have one of them finishing very prominently. Now, whether that's the one that Barry's on, or whether that's the one that Aidan Coleman's on, I just find it tough to get my head around. Really, I think I'd like the option probably is going to be the better of the 2, but I'd even give a chance to Red Devil Star down the bottom. To be honest, I think he's at 6 to 1. Third last time out. It was being a long way at Sandown, but Sue Smith is Sue Smith's not a bad trainer really. They got Jack Sherwood on, quite happily, quite happily go in, I would imagine, but it's not one I could commit fully to. I think John Joe will probably have the winner. Which one of the 2, is up to whoever's betting, I guess. Really, it's tough. It really is tough, Mick. It's competitive. I mean, Venetia's got one at the top, Dubawi Island. Imperial Presence, wasn't far behind Old Guard and things like that. But I would say I'd like the option would be the very, very, very tentative pick for me. I know that's not overly interesting because he is the favourite, but unfortunately that's how it is.
Yeah, Dubawi Island's a very interesting one for me. Venetia is in a bit of form at the moment. He's rated 134 going into this novice chase. First time novice up for Venetia. Sometimes you do need to run. I think that 15-2 is what is being forecast here on at the races is what I'm using, but I just think that she's in the better form. He's the decent. It's a decent tricky race. It wouldn't surprise me if they finished in a bunch, but I would really like something to come along here and take this race by the horns, win by 10, 12 lengths, and then we can start talking about upping in class. Champagne at Tara sometimes just doesn't like to go past other horses, and Red Devil Star Sue Smith's in fine form as well. And this would be a complete non-betting race for me. But if I had to bet anything, it would be Dubai Island. What about you? If you would have a bet in this race, who would you have to back?
I would personally, if I was to have a bet, I probably would go with Red Devil Star 6-1. You know, price there for you. It's better, you know, to have a couple of runs in the start of the season than, you know, coming a bit cold for me. So I'd stick with Sue Smith and maybe grab that second.
William, if you had to have a bet in the race, who would it be?
I'd go Champagne at Tara. In the hope, I think that they'd given him an awful lot more schooling and that they'd really managed to get some work into him. But no, he's got talent clearly.
That'll quickly move us on to the 1355, the Sky Bet Supreme Trial Novices Hurdle. It's a grade 2. It's an actual really good race. It's a shame Jenkins doesn't come here, but we've got 6 runners. I will go to you, Andrew, first. Who do you like in here?
Well, it's everyone's been talking about Lock Derg Spirit, haven't they? You know, with obviously Jenkins coming out, you know, the 2 wins on the spin, and your eyes are automatically drawn to the rugby post. You know, the 11 there. Actually, quite like Keep in Line, to be honest. You know, he's done 2 wins like here, like the favourite this season. You know, fourth behind Moonrace the last time out. You know, it's not exactly. It's much closer than I think than any of the others would get to. I think he was beating just over 3 lengths. I think it was something like that, and that was in a grade 2 as well. You know, a couple of these have got to step up. Lock Derg Spirit did beat a horse I like quite a lot in Coupe de Ponceau, who really he was a big letdown at Aintree last time. I think it was Aintree, was it? I think he ran it, or he ran somewhere anyway. Capitaine, you know, he was talking also at the start of the season. It's kind of petered out from him a bit, really, in a way. You know, he's second last time out. Thomas Campbell, you know, he's got the Barry factor. You know, course and distance winner. He'll be popular, I would imagine. But no, I'm quite happy with Keep in Line. I think he's quite a progressive horse. You know, 134, plenty of potential. You know, I'll stick with Keep in Line. Thank you very much.
KJ, this race was won by Yamworth last year for Alan King. What is your views on this race?
It's a fascinating one, probably the one I'm looking forward to most of tomorrow. I think it's very good. Could be on the Saturday card. There are a couple of different angles to come at it from. I think they're all improving horses still. The most runs, I think one has had is Thomas Campbell, and one of them was a complete write-off. And it will be interesting to measure up a couple of the form lines, because you do have Keep in Line 4th in a grade 2 at Cheltenham. The form of that doesn't appear to be that strong so far, but we'll get a chance to see it tested over 2 miles. I was really impressed with Lock Derg Spirit, but I also am impressed by the attitude of Thomas Campbell. However, there's one horse that I really kind of have been waiting to see ever since he made his debut, and it's Captain Flores. I think it'll be really interesting to see how he goes. The Jenkins form took a bit of a bump with Bags Groove being beaten, but he was well clear at Newbury. And the way Captain Flores jumped Newbury like a stag was absolutely beautiful, and he didn't lose much cast at all when he finished third, beating 6 lengths. Gets weight from everyone but Blue Surf tomorrow. I think it'd be very interesting to see how he does, particularly if there's a lot of physical improvement forthcoming.
I kind of agree with you. The Jenkins Forum was, some say it was let down by Bags Groove not winning, but Pink Shoe, who I put up on here last week, he won a very, very, very hot race at Cheltenham. He was very impressive. He was coming by a layoff for like 600 days or something. And when he raced Jenkins, he was 6 lengths behind. This race is just as hot, and I think Captain Flores could actually improve past. I know Graham Woods is very keen on Lockdown Spirit. He seems to think that he could be the one for a Supreme at prices. He's a very credible horse. This is an interesting race. Capitan. I just don't think that it can give. I just don't think the £7 is easy enough to give to Captain Flores, where Bags where it comes down to it, where Bags Spirit or Bags Groove, he could actually just be a genuine horse, but he needs a bit of headgear. He's kind of let the form down. Captain Flores was a 3/4 length ahead of Ping Shu, who's come out and won that hot race. It's very interesting. Can you see any of these being in the picture of the Supreme at the end of the season? And I'll put that to you, Andrew.
No reason why they won't be. I think that would be the answer for me. Like Will said, some of them haven't started really progressing yet, I would imagine. I think Nicky does like to. Nicky's quite strong with his Supreme. Obviously, I think Jenkins is at the top of the table, but I don't think Lockdown Spirit is too far behind. Neither is Thomas Campbell. I could see a few of these will turn up. Whether they be able to get the better of Jenkins and whatever the boat brings over from Clusutton, then that's up for debate. But yes, a few of them will probably go, but will any of them win out? I wouldn't think so, no, unfortunately. Also, I'm just interested, if Barry Geraghty was riding Lockdown Spirit, what price would he be rather than Jerry McGrath?
My answer to that is that Barry, they would be swapped round. But it seems to be Jeremiah McGrath is taking up the role in Nico de Boinville. With his injury, he seems to be getting the better rides, and Barry's being used when he's not being used by JP. That would be my opinion on it. Lockdown Spirit's been very impressive. I don't think any of these will be involved in a finish at Cheltenham, but I think there will be. I think 2 or 3 will be there in the race. I don't think there'll be double figure prices, and I don't think they'll be bothering the first 3. Would you agree with that, William?
Yeah. Broadly, it's interesting actually. The question Andy posed. It's a good poser, particularly as even with Barry on board, Thomas Campbell is 4-1. Lockdown Spirit is a strong favourite, given the opposition that he does face. And I should just also say, I think Capitan will be better on this ground than not. So I think the race is even stronger, perhaps, than the market has it as being. Thomas Campbell finds an awful lot. I'm not sure that Lockdown Spirit should be such a strong favourite, even getting £3. And I think it'll be very interesting. I think it'll be closer than the market suggests.
Just a quick one. If any of these were to get ahead of them, they would have to, looking at the top of the market for the Supreme, and Jenkins, Moonracer, Mellon, Crockmome. These are all they've put in some serious performances, some of them so far this year, and whether to get past them, it's gonna they're gonna have to keep improving. But it's tough to see them getting past them. Even further down, Peace News, maybe if he remembers what he's supposed to do, give me a copper they put in today as well after his.
Oh, we're saying about Peace News wouldn't have beaten Early Beach. Early Beach should be going for this, for the Supreme. I know we're getting distracted, but Early Beach should be going.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Early Beach, I don't think we'll see her near a Supreme, to be honest. The Supreme Horse Racing Club are having a terrible time at the moment. They're the first winner with Early Beach, but they had one called Darren Carlotta. They thought that she was much better than Early Beach. Much better. Paul Townend got her beat at Cheltenham in a bumper a couple of years ago, and she's been out since. She has now caught colic, unfortunately.
Oh.
I don't know what the news is. My thoughts are with some of the owners that I know that are in there, and I just hope that she makes it through and we do see her in the course again. On that dull note, I will move on to the 14:30, the Mighty NOL Novice Chase Grade 2. 4 runners. We've got Politolog, Rock the Casbah, Royal Vocation, and Captain Chaos. Politolog was absolutely impressive, winning last time out. He's rated 144. Well, I'll go first. How do you see this race going?
I can see Politolog trying to lead him from the drop of the flag to the finishing line, and I think he's going to take some beating in that. I'm going to be really interested in seeing how Rock the Casbah is ridden. I think the more forwardly he's ridden, the better, because I don't know what happened at Cheltenham behind 007. It was really, really weird how he essentially became just tailed off very quickly, and I was sort of surprised nothing came up from that. We should be in for a good race if he's back to his best, and then there's Captain Chaos as well. But I think the way the Politolog jumped and travelled at Haydock, when apparently there was plenty left, suggests he's found his calling as a chaser. He may lead him a merry dance. It could be quite well run.
Andrew, I'll pose this question to you then. Politolog, it was impressive last out, but that was on heavy ground. It is forecast to be good to soft tomorrow. Does the ground make that a factor, and the fact that he's rated £4 inferior to Rock the Casbah and going off the same weight, does that affect the way you think about this race?
I think the best horse usually wins, and I think it will tomorrow as well. I think Politolog is, he's odds on at the minute. I think they've probably got it spot on there for me. Ground wise, I wouldn't have too much of a bother. Too much. The only thing that would worry me is, like Will said, how Rock the Casbah is going to be ridden. If Politolog does go out in front, he will require a bit of catching. But Rock the Casbah, he's no mug. Rock the Casbah, he's no mug. Neither is Captain Chaos. So I think Politolog probably is going to be the winner. But I think if you're looking for a forecast, I think Captain Chaos probably would follow him home. He's novice, he's got a bit to do, obviously, on Chase debut. But I think the Skeltons, they're pretty switched on. He's not going to be a bad horse, and they didn't send him to Germany for a holiday, did they? Back at the back end of last season, they must think a lot of him, and whether the ground goes against him, I'm not overly sure. But yeah, I think he could probably follow him in, but Politolog is the best horse, and I think Politolog will win.
I'm going to disagree completely. I think Rock the Casbah is the winner here. The ground is just, for me, it's got to be heavy for Politolog. Rock the Casbah's form, I know 007 or 007, however it wants to be called, he ran a stinker the other day. It was a stinking race. We'll go back to the Chepstow Forum, where Outcamfer was second. He was then beaten by Candice Obo. The Inval was third. He's beat Theo's Chatham and ran against 007. Has then came out and beat Theo's Chatham. Candice Obo has then came out and absolutely hammered. He's absolutely hammered the field, which had full potential.
Virgilio's race.
He ran Candice Obo improved a lot that day. Being rated 148, I know it doesn't mean too much. A small field, there has got to be a pace angle. I watched the Politolog race last time because I was on Welsh Shadow. Politolog seemed to go with him for a while and then got outpaced, and then came back onto the bridle and then never came back off the bridle. Won very, very easily. Rocky Casbah's course win is what's pushing me towards him. At the prices, I've got to back him. Royal Vacation, I backed him last day, he won. He was very lucky to win. The market rival fell, I think, that day, and Captain Chaos is a good horse. A very good horse in his day, but I don't think he can come off a 261 day break to challenge these. So for Will and Andrew, it'll both be Politolog, I think. And I will be going for Rocky Caspar. That takes me on to this lovely 1505, the Mighty Conditional Jockeys Handicap Hurdle. This is a great race for me. As you know, I love handicaps, but I'll let William go first and see what he can come up with.
Oh, you've been too kind in giving me this very easy race. It's obvious that Baliarfa, who was fourth in his handicap debut at Cheltenham, is going to take the beating. There's a lot of good form there. Off the same mark, you'd fancy him to go quite well. And I think it is tough to look past him in terms of his likely winner, for what the market understands that. I'm going to give a shout out to Fortunate George. He was tailed off on his reappearance, but I think he still retains a good amount of potential. And I wouldn't be too quick to write him off, particularly in this company as well. I think that's very important. 1, 2, 3, I think is actually fair. Emma Lavelle is useful with this type of horse. She's very good for placement. I think you wouldn't be the biggest surprise if he was to basically completely turn around that form. Also, Morning Herald seems to be another strong each-way player as well. He was only second out 4 on his handicap debut in October, but the winners followed up since. So I think this is a race where you can maybe have a couple of each-way darts, and I think I'd give Fortunate George the benefit of the doubt. I think even if I was to be backing Baliarfa.
Andrew, I'll now pass this to you. It's very, very tricky. What can you come up with?
I said last week I hate these kinds of races, and that has not changed. This is a worst nightmare for me. I'm not going to lie to you, mate. The one from my experiences of picking handicaps, I normally pick one of the top 3 or one of the bottom 3, or usually one of each, and that has landed me on this week. It's looking down the bottom, and I saw Harry Cobden was on one down the bottom, City Supreme. I think I like Harry Cobden quite a lot. I think he's a smashing jockey. Anthony Honeyball, he's a bit of a shrewdie if we're going to be completely honest with him. There's some other people call him some nastier words, but I'll stick with the shrewdie. So he would be the one for me at the bottom. Now I know he's got maybe he's a bit high, a bit high in the weights for that, but he is coming back down in trip, which some might also see as a bit of a problem. But I think that he's he's not really been getting it, not been getting it done at the longer trips. So I think, why not try him a bit further down? From the top of the market, you're looking at Ritual of Senses maybe for Warren Greatrex. He's going up, going up in trip, and Jonathan Moore, like, he's another good jockey as well. And whether or not, he's good enough to win, that'll be dependent on. But you're going to see money probably for the Trevor Hemmings horse. Nigel Twiston Davis isn't knocking it out of the park for me at the minute. I'm not. I think he's a great trainer, but I think he's not. I don't know if this is statistically right or not, but he just doesn't seem to be hitting a frame for me really at the minute. But if I was to give you one, and this is in absolutely no way a tip or should be taken with any kind of confidence, why not go for City Supreme at 20-1 with Harry Cobden on? He might not make it all the way. At least he's going to get round at 2-5, run over 3. Let's give him a go at 20-1 and see what happens.
I've looked at this race and I've kind of picked it apart, and I've ended up in Clondra. Neil Mulholland, fine for him, tongue tie for 127. I think there's a lot of improvement here to come. His last run was beaten by Byron Flyer by 3 and a bit lengths. I think that it tired towards the end. James King read that day. I think this longer trip will help because it will go a slower pace. He's still for 127. I agree with KJ a little with Fortunate George. It's interesting to put an advisor on him for the first time, which will help. But when you look at these amateur handicaps, often it's best to go with the best jockey. And for me, Jack Sherwood or Jonathan Moore are the best out of them, or Harry Cobden. And I didn't fancy any of the horses to actually win, which is quite scary. But Callum Drive for me. William, I'm going to bring you back in here. You went to Fergal O'Brien's. I see he's got a couple of runners in here. He has Lord of the Island, who ran a day ago, who's probably going to be pulled. I don't know if he's going to run. And then we've also got Man from Seville. Did you find out anything about the 2 horses when you were over at Fergal's Yard?
No, they didn't actually come on the radar in terms of the conversation we had. I'll be making another visit or 2 to Fergal's, one post-Christmas, so stay tuned for that. Man from Seville is one that they do like, although didn't get nearly as far as he wanted at Market Raisin. Lord of the Island is much loved. They were delighted what happened at Toaster, and he ran a very fair race at Exeter today. Whether he runs, I don't know. I think if he did, it'd be tough. It'd be a real tough ask for him. I wouldn't fancy his chances too much. Man from Seville retains plenty of potential still, and I think the ground's good for him. The Ruckers have a couple of nice horses. He was looking in good shape when I saw him, and he's still unexposed, very unexposed as a jumper, which a few of these aren't, in all truth, although I think there'll be other days in a pair of them.
Excellent. That'll bring us on to the final race in Entry Investments Management Championship Standard Open National Hunt Flat listed race. It's a Class 1 46-year-old. This is a very, very open race. I will go to you first, Andrew. Is there anything that you like in here?
I think we said last week the bunker on the card. Last week was a great race. This is another good race. This is a proper race. There's plenty going on here. There is absolutely plenty going on. I quite liked Imperial Eloquence. Now, we were talking about Fergal before. I don't know if Will's got anything to add about that, but Fergal and his bumper horses they've been on fire, absolutely on fire recently. And I think he has got form to find with Boring Belly, who's just as 7-2 in the market, and they have got to beat a decent one in Claim Taking Forgan, or I don't know how you pronounce that. It's too bloody long for me. I think he's got the Racing Post said he's got a competitive shout, and I would fully agree with that. Further down is there's one for Richard Newland. Now the Doc and Sam Twiston Davis are almost 30% when they run together so far this season, and they've had 71 runners together, so that it's a formula that's really worked for them it's worked for them in the past, and an Irish point winner. So you take it with a bit of a pinch of salt, really, because the Doc doesn't send a lot out, and sometimes they run a bit of a stinker, and sometimes they come back well. But I think if you're looking for one at a bigger price, I mean, he's 16-1, so he's got a lot to do to win. But I would say Imperial Eloquence for me, just to turn it a bit around with Boring Bill, and 5-1 is a nice price for anyone that's looking for a lucky last punt, I think.
William, I'm going to bring you in here. This race was won by Cord Blimey last year, who went in the champion bumper.
Mm-hmm.
This was one of the best forum lines thereafter. This race seems to be it's a listed class race. It seems to push towards another bumper run and then before Cheltenham. I would like to ask you what your thoughts on the winner of tomorrow's race is, and what one you would probably be looking further ahead to. Given Potter's story is out for Peter Bowen, it takes the field down to 12.
Yeah, I think there's going to be plenty of nice future prospects. Western Rider appeals as one if he can be taught to run straight. I was impressed by how close he managed to get to victory despite his very best and ultimately successful efforts to defeat himself. I noticed that Senatus was impressive. I think he can improve a bit further. Although I would agree with Andrew in that Imperial Eloquence, I think, probably holds the most potential for tomorrow. And having, kind of ran an amazing race on his reappearance at 33-1, he should improve from that. I was there when I saw him. I think he was having some early galloping sessions in October. He was thriving then. I think he'll keep on going through the season. And I can see him running a very big race tomorrow, and I can see him changing that form around. In terms of who's going to be a champion bumper prospect, I think the winner obviously is going to be, but I think there's a lot of horses in here are worth trusting.
For myself, I've had a good look through this. Silver Cave comes here for Kim Bailey. Jamie Muir takes the ride. 5 lengths second to Kings of Realm. Tales of Tweed runs in the first race, so they've met at Ascot already on a bumper, and the Tales of Tweed's now going to go over hurdles. If Tales of Tweed wins that race, you will see Silver Cave's price crash here, I think. He was second favourite that day when he was beaten by Kings of Realms. One of the best forum lines in here, and it'll probably sound silly again, but it's going to be the JW Mullins runner. Kevin Jones takes the ride. Present Destiny. He's beat by a Paul Nicholls horse called Cook to Pinnacle, if that's how you say it, at Ascot over the same trip. He was beating a length and a half. He was getting weight that day, but Cook Pinnacles now came out and then finished 3.5 lengths behind Lockderg Spirit of Nicky Henderson's, who also goes in the first, or goes in the graded race. With they two sticking to bumpers and the other two going now Lois Hurderland, I think they're the two to watch for me anyway. Kim Bailey's got 2 in there. Manila Warrior, David Bass takes the ride. again, beaten by Lockdown Spirit. It seems to be the same kind of forum lines all coming in. That was in a point to point. I think possibly the Richard Johnson one is being looked over as well. Agamemnon. He won at Southall, which doesn't scream out progression, but to win there, and he could be vulnerable to speedier tides. But Richard Johnson's a good booking. It is a great race, and I would probably be sticking with Present Destiny in this one for me.
You can make a claim for a few of these. That's, I think, like you said, that's the race. I mean, we've not even really talked about the favourite. That's the crazy thing as well. The favourite's Nicky's horse at the top. £110,000, £110,000. 3-1. Could be a good day for Nicky and Jerry if things go well for them. But I think in a race like this, you said 3-1, 7-2, 5-1. Those kind of prices. Why not take a chance on a bigger price and hope that it can turn it around? I say.
Yeah. My next question is going to be, what is there anything on any other cards tomorrow that you like? You've got Newcastle, Uttoxeter, Wolverhampton, and Fundalk.
Fundalk. That is always the way, that the tyranny of the working week is over, isn't it? But we got Fundalk.
Fundalk Fridays.
Oh, I'm so disappointed that Graham isn't with us. The Fundalk, and we've got no Graham. No offense to either of you two. I'm sure you're entirely qualified to talk about wonderful wonders of Fundalk, but I'm disappointed now. I like that staging race. I'm looking at right now, though.
I'm going to stick one up at Fundalk, to be honest. Manikanenko. It's at 1830 at Fundalk. It's five-time course and distance winner. It was ridden by Donica the last time, taking 3 off. This horse won with Pat Smullen on in March, and he was close up, led, and then he's ran in decent enough races. He's dropping down the handicap. He's 61. It was 61 when Pat Smullen on him. He's got an apprentice taking 7 off, so he could be well in on his mark. What I think, it's tricky racing at Dundalk on a Friday. He is.
I'll be too far into my chip shop tea for that by the time Fundalk rolls around.
He's down in class as well. There isn't very much else that I have looked at. I know
there's one at Uttoxeter I quite like.
When you got
the Dollarman for Evan Williams, Paul Maloney.
What race is that, Andrew?
That's the 3:30 at Uttoxeter. Now it is a short price, but changed hands for quite a bit of money. I think it was £75,000 £75,000 after his Irish point win. It looks at Mulholland and Feely have got one in the race, so they should you should always have a look at them. But I think that if he's with the right trainer there, Evan Williams is a cracking trainer. Paul Maloney, them two, when they team up, they don't normally get it wrong. And 6-4 about he's got a spin under his belt, and it is another bumper, but at least he knows what a racecourse looks like when a few of them don't there. So I wouldn't be steaming him, but 6-4, that's one to keep in your back pocket for a future race maybe.
Yeah, I know one of the listeners, Michael Luby, had one in here. It was so-called Topfield Ben, who isn't going to turn up. He was hopeful he was going to run in this race, but it's cut up quite a lot. We are going to do a steward's inquiry. I'll let you go first if you've got anything, Andrew.
I don't think I've got anything really. The only point I would like to make is just to sort of, I don't know, I don't think I've got anything really. The only point I would like to make is just to sort of, I don't know, I don't think I've got anything really. The only point I would like to make is just to sort of, I don't know, I don't think I've got anything really. The only point I would like to make is just to sort of, I don't know, I don't think I've got anything really. The only point I would like to make is just to sort of, you know, for the King George and the Lexus, I think they're going to be two absolutely cracking races. I'm going to be really, I know I'm going to be really disappointed that Thistlecrack probably won't turn up in the King George. I also think, you know, I saw that Paddy Power price, you know, started to price 4 out of the Christmas hurdle and in more at the Ryanair hurdle, and it's just, I think, you know, it's getting a bit of a pain now trying to second guess Willie, and I know they have to do right by themselves, but geez, they don't have to make it hard for you, do they? You know, if you want to have a anti-post bet, you might as well just throw your money up in the air and see what, you know, see where it lands. But there's nothing really in the stewards' inquiry for me. Just, you know, this weekend's a bit quiet, so I think this is just a case of getting ready for the couple of weeks after. I think, you know what I mean. Harry's an absolute stone cold cert in the long walk as well. The French horse, you know, is getting touted about, but I think, you know, if you're gonna get a price, you know, for, you know what I mean, Harry, it's going to be on Saturday morning. I think he's short enough now, so why not wait till Saturday and take the price there? But yeah, for me, he looks unbeatable there.
William, do you have anything for the stewards' inquiry?
I do. It's about a rather contentious issue, but am I the only person who thinks that the Jim Best punishment is kind of very lenient for the alleged crimes, which I presume the BHA, you know, found him guilty of? Obviously, you can take it to the High Court or whatever, but 6 months for race fixing, I don't think in any other sport kind of a spot fix, or actually, well, it's not spot fix really, it's match fixing, would be treated so leniently. And the credibility issue is beginning to become sort of this overwhelming kind of grey monster that some people in racing don't really want to deal with. And it's frustrating, especially as another member of the family will just take the license and run the whole thing. And I don't know necessarily about how much the public image of racing is truly being affected, and I'll go on to that in my next point. But I think it's important for in-house confidence. The other point I was going to make was I was reading an excerpt of a Sky Bet betting report today, and apparently young people are, I think it's something like 12 times more likely to bet on football than they are racing, and also that only 17% of new customers, it might be wrong, have racing as their favourite sport, which to me suggests two things need to happen. Number one, we need to continue with the approach that Great British Racing have taken to promoting and marketing the sport as an event, because in the future I think that's going to be kind of the basis of survival. And there needs to be another conversation about, you know, what's made racing less desirable to bet on. You know, I can't think of another sport apart from maybe say golf where you can get such a big return on your outlay for relatively low risk. And that the numbers keep falling to things like football. Don't get me wrong, you know, I can understand, you know, we're a football country, but 2 million people a year go racing. There's an imbalance in the numbers. It's something we need to think about.
On your point on Jim Best, right? I will come in here.
Hey.
Darren Egan got 12 years, I
think.
Mm-hmm. But he was a jockey. He actually stopped the horse.
Yeah.
Jim Best has asked a jockey to stop a horse, and the horse has been stopped. There wasn't any betting partners in the Jim Best case, although he has stopped the horse. What I'm going to say next is that spot fixing in racing is terrible, and you can see it. You can see it happening all the time. Keeping handicap marks and horses schooling and things like that is shocking. and it should be dealt with more. When Barry Geraghty got away with the ride on Anna, it might have been Annabelle Fly.
Some Tony Martin horse. We'll just say it's some Tony Martin horse because you know.
It was Annabelle Fly. He got away with that, and it was kind of it was kind of showing up to me. And then there was one where Barry Cash stole the race for the front. Barry Geraghty copped a huge ban, and it got overturned. Which brings me to my next point. In other sports, spot fixing. If you fix a football match, you're banned for life, or you're banned for a serious amount of time. You're jailed. Jim Best, for me, should be the same. Also, in other sports, if you use drugs and horsey in other sports, if Chris Froome, who's a triple Tour de France winner, is completely and utterly passed every single test, but there's always accusation. Barra, it's the exact same. If they use drugs, it would be banned, lynched, everything else. Jim Best gets 6 months. Darren Egan gets 12 years. Roger Varian gets Hugo Palmer caught twice, and possibly a third time. There is no punishment for that. There is clear problems in drugs. You've had the cases in Australia with the black caviar trainer with cobalt, and you've also had the Alzaruri with Enki and the Stopping Camelot basically getting the Triple Crown. Is horse racing and drugs a problem, a huge problem? We've had Healy as well at Cheltenham. Should they? I know they're not performance-enhancing drugs, they're meds, but you can't race on them. Should these trainers be testing the horses before they run to make sure they're clear of the meds? That would be my point. They have denied two owners, one at Cheltenham, which is JP McManus. They've denied him standing in the winner's circle at the cross-country race. Another was Gordon Lord Byron at the Curragh in a Grade 3. They're stopping people who are supposed to be having their day. And I know that there are medication, drugs and things like that, but shouldn't these be tested before they run?
I think that the problem for me is the Jim Best wife and brother and second cousins are all applying for licenses, and I think that this, if you're in any way sort of related, it just doesn't look right, does it? That's my problem with it. It just doesn't look right. It's going to be tough to stomach if you're seeing him banned and then all you see is a different initial next to the surname Best. I think that we have to sort of deal with the ruling and take that for what it is. But whether or not it's the right punishment is, or the length of punishment is the right stuff, then that's obviously not. We can all have our own opinion, but that one doesn't carry much when it comes to this kind of thing. It's just a shame, really. It's a shame that it has to happen. But we've got to carry on. We've got to carry on, and as bad as it sounds, there's plenty of horses out there for other people. If Jim's people who had horses with Jim in the first place can take their horses elsewhere, and whether they get a better run out of them elsewhere is dependent on what trainer they take them to. But it is a problem, and it is a problem we have to sort of try and get around. But at the moment it looks bad, and we've been through many phases of stuff like this before. But we've got to tie the bootlaces and carry on. Unfortunately,
I think that is quite an excellent answer. I'm sure Carol Burke was the same, and there's been others. we're in a sport where we are trying to bring new fans, newcomers to the sport. And if you see this across the papers and something like that, on why would you want to go racing? Andrew, I believe I'll be seeing you on New Year's Day at
Johnny Musselburgh, that is correct, yeah. For
Go
the
Musselburgh.
of ITV racing, yeah.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful stuff.
we will see.
Hogmanay in Edinburgh the night before. Musselburgh the next day. What could possibly go wrong?
I will see you there at Musselburgh that day. William, what do you think about the transaction that's going to go over to ITV?
I'll tell you one thing. I'm optimistic about a lot of the people that are going to be on there. I'm a big fan of Ed Chamberlain, who's got a lot of non-racing reach. Which is very important. I'm also a big fan of the kind of attitude and energy that a lot of the people are going to bring. Yes, this does include Matt Chapman, and I'll tell you why quickly. I know it's the end of the show. It is very important that we in racing realise that we are not doing this for the benefit of racing people. We're doing this to try and get as many people watching horse racing on a Saturday as is possible. And we've got about 40 opportunities to do that on ITV1 a year, and not all of them are Saturdays. So it's important that we have people with energy and a big reach that will suit the ITV target audience. And yes, these are the people who text into I'm a Celeb. They are the people for whom Honey G might be the only singing they hear all week. They are also the people who might well be listening to TalkSport or, catching up on stuff on demand. We need to broaden and expand our reach. And I think it's a good thing that they looked at a more dynamic team. And I like that idea, just to get as many people watching racing as they want. And if you want your kind of sophisticated operations, you can watch Racing UK. There are streams. Most people who, let's be honest, I complain about it, are already paying to watch Racing UK for the class of people like Lydia Hislop, and you'll have Nick Luck there if you want. So I like what I see so far. I just hope that they're kind of big, brash and bold, and they don't listen to too many nitpickers who sort of want the old Channel 4. We have to move on from that. That is dead.
Oh, you mean we're not? You mean that we're not going to get Big Mac? Oh, it's just not the same.
No,
never be the same.
I know.
Never be the same.
I just think we've all got to give it a chance.
Yeah.
It's simple. They are the broadcasting station. People say, "Oh, racing's on ITV4." Who cares? Everybody's got ITV4. Just turn the channel. For me, it's all about the horses. Long as the product's okay, that'll be good. But on that note, I'm just going to end the show here. Andrew, I would like to thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. Hopefully we'll have a good day tomorrow and a good weekend overall.
Thank you very much. And William, thank you for your time as well.
Oh, thank you for your time. Look at you. You've become slick host in a week, putting me to shame.
It's got to be done. I've been Mick Doonan. This has been Horses for Courses. We will be back tomorrow at 5 as well. And we'll be put onto SoundCloud and iTunes for you. We have had a bit of problems in the last week. William's been very busy and sick. So on that bombshell, as a popular BBC ex-presenter used to say, good night.